up. Get your screen grabs ready for sure. There's some great insights that are going to be shared. So Ivan, before we kind of jump into your section, you picked this topic because you thought it would be super relevant, important for us this year. So just maybe give it a little bit of context around that.
Yeah, thanks, Clarice. You know, when it comes to the funnel, it's so big, right? There's so many different channels. There's so many different users and customers and dealerships competing. And so, you know, we started off with me at the top myself at the top, because, you know, as it comes down the funnel, it's the hardest capture is with at the top, right? And you can't do that manually anymore. There's just so many variables that you need an automated software to plug into the automated tools of Google and some of these other platforms. And me being dealership side, of course, you want to make sure that you know how to make it work for your dealership, because, you know, I was dealership side. And so, like, let's say this huge machine that you have in front of you, you want to still put in your objectives. You want to still steer the AI, steer that machine and make sure it's reaching your goals and it optimizes for what you input into it. So that's why I kind of chose this topic to start off with. So, you know, we can go on the next slide and get right into it. And one of the key aspects is for all dealers out there, everybody, I mean, every digital property, is that customized journeys are essential in 2022. Interestingly, when COVID-19 hit, AI-enabled companies adapted their offerings to ensure customers would have great at-home experiences, right? And those customers experience great personalized service. And so now customers online require this type of personalization. So AI tools are no longer nice to have, rather they're a key element of consumer expectation. And part of that expectation is hyper-personalization. You want to make sure you're automating your marketing to enable a personalized experience to every single potential customer who crosses your path for every single vehicle line you have to offer. And the personalization journey starts right from the user search query. That's exactly, because that's where the intent is. So for example, here, a year, make, model search, this is 22 Ram 1500, requires a year, make, model ad, not a general ad, not a sort of all Rams. It requires a year, make, model ad. You get increased click-through rate and lower cost per click. And we'll talk about cost per click in a couple of slides, but increased click-through rate because the user is seeing their query matched up when an ad matches as close as possible to the intent of that user search query. And to take it a step further, you know, answering these questions on the next slide, we'll see how we can sort of answer those buyer questions, right, within a search ad. And all of this happens dynamically with AI. So if a user wants to know the price, that's the can I afford it question, right? So you want to make sure you have that dynamic pricing inserted. So you see here, 22 Ram 1500, starting at 66,550. That's a great starting point for a customer. I'm going to click that ad because, hey, you know what? Their lowest price Ram 1500 is 66,550. I'm in. But there's more questions, right? The user wants to know if it's available. This is the new question in 2022. Do they have it in stock, right? So now the dynamic inventory count that AI puts into these platforms is so relevant, right? Currently 58 in stock, awesome. So now I know if I go to this dealership, I know that I can get a test driver. There's gonna be a variety of vehicles that I can choose from and not have to pre-order. And then the other question is, which vehicle do I need? Let's say the user might want a different trim. You know, in this case, there's a classic, you know, maybe it was they had a DT and maybe they want a classic. So dynamically using AI, we insert, or AI providers insert other relevant sort of site links in there for classics. You can see right beside it, use Ram 1500s. Maybe they want to use Ram 1500s. So all of this is answering buyers' questions. And as we're customizing the journey, we want to recognize the intent of those searches. Where do those users want to go if they put in that kind of search query? So now that you have the click, you want to send them to the right landing page. So here we have a new 2022, let's say on the left-hand side, we'll start with 2021 Nissan Rogue SV all-wheel drive. That's a pretty long tail keyword. It's pretty specific. So there's only one in stock. The landing page, obviously the ad's going to talk about a 2021, and then the landing page is going to go straight to the VDP. Think about the experience that user gets, right? They get to see the photos right away, the price is right there. They can do their digital retailing or mess around with the CTAs or, you know, whatever the case may be. And then, but beside it, let's say somebody puts in new 2022 Nissan Rogue. Well, you know what? They want to see all new 2022 Nissan Rogues. So you send them to the new year make model SRP, right? What a great experience that is. But what if they just put Nissan Rogue and not, you know, new 2022? Well, seems to me like that user doesn't know if they want a new or a used. So in that case, you create an ad that says we have new and used in stock, and you send them to the make model SRP. And so customized user journeys, you've customized that portion, right when they come into your website. But what about on their returning visit? You want to move them down the funnel. So once the user has been to your website, on their returning visit, so they've searched for a vehicle, they've gone to your website, they've looked at photos, they saw the description. But now they're going to go home, they're going to talk to their wife, and say, you know what, can we afford that? Like, what's the biweekly payment? You know, we're going to go snowboarding next weekend. Like, how much is it for a Thule? Are you sure we can afford it? Like, you know, how much is our trade worth, or all that kind of stuff? So guess what? Now when this user does a search, you put them, automation AI puts them on a remarketing list. And instead of showing them an ad that brings you back to the website, we're gonna, or you should, best practices, give an ad that brings them to the digital retailing tool. And if you could see I've highlighted the URL there, that says that URL we're sending them on their returning visit is actually going to the digital retailing tool, so they can do all those cool things like calculate their payments, add accessories, value their trade. And we can even see in the ad, we put starting at $225 biweekly, because now they're further down the funnel. So you want to make sure you're customizing a user journey, even on their remarketing, sending them to a different landing page, making sure that they get a better experience. And we could go next slide. And it's interesting because it all seems easy, right? And it all seems obvious, but it's actually only AI and automation software that makes all of that happen. A lot of the agencies and providers out there say they do this, but they really don't. And the way you can tell is the fact that AI and automation software, when it talks to a platform like Google, you'll actually, if you ask for a change history report, and I highly recommend you go to your agency and ask for a change history report for your search ads, you're going to see 100,000 changes, at least in the hundreds of thousands of changes monthly, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands every month. You're going to have thousands of ad groups. You're going to have hundreds of campaigns, because AI is constantly optimizing on a daily basis. A manual agency will only have 50 changes, 40 changes, something to that matter. And what does that mean to you? All of these changes. Well, what it means is increased impressions. You're getting more impressions than your competition. You're getting increased clicks, users, but ultimately you're getting the best user experience. And on top of that, and I've been dealership side, trust me, I know it'll save you a lot of money while doing it. Because AI, the way automation AI works is, because it's optimizing on so many data points, it gives you a great quality score. And the better your quality score, the less you're going to pay. If you look at the Venn diagram on the right, there's 3 elements to a quality score. One is ad relevance, and you saw that the ad that I showed above was very relevant. The landing page experience, so now when you're sending them to exactly what they want, that landing page experience is fantastic. Or expected click-through rate, and expected click-through rate as well. So it knows, because other users have clicked on this ad so many times because it's relevant to them, they're going to get a high click-through rate as well. And so your quality score is going to enable you to have a low cost per click. And I can't stress this enough. A lot of people assume that the lower your overall cost per click is actually a cheap, i.e. cheap click, but it's not. It's the opposite. The lower your overall CPC, cost per click, the more Google has deemed your ads to be the most relevant for their user. And I'll give you a quick example. Let's say you're, a mattress company, Sleep Country Canada. Let's say you wanted to bid on a Ram 1500. Would Sleep Country Canada pay more for that click or less for that click? They're going to pay more for that click. Why? Because mattresses have nothing to do with Ram 1500. Meanwhile, an AI automated agency has everything to do with the RAM 1500. And so Google's going to want to give their users a great experience, and they're going to make you pay less for that click. So a takeaway that I'll share at the end is that your cost per click KPI, better than anything else, is the most prominent indicator of the performance of your agency. Now, for those of you that want to benchmark CPC, here's a couple of them that I put up there. For brand name, you should be in and around the 43-cent mark. For new car inventory, you should be in the $1.58 mark. And for used cars, you should be in the $1.39 mark, in and around there. And here's a case study that I did that shows how much you can save moving from a manual agency to an automated AI agency. So you see the dealership on top with the manual had a 15% management fee. So they think they're getting a deal. Total cost is $2,300, but their average cost per click was $3.74. And the total users was 535 users, right, for that 2,300. When you move to an automated agency, okay, the management fee is 25%, pretty standard. They're investing in technology. Total cost is only $200 more, but the average cost per click is 52 cents, which means the total number of users that this was us in our case, but that we got off these campaign for this $200 more was 3,846 users. That's 3,300 more users, okay, than the manual campaign. And just think about, you could probably reduce your spend $500 or whatever the case may be, or $1,000 even in this case, and still get more users for less spend. And again, what about the quality of clicks? You can just look at it as all these search terms that you're available for in Auction Insights and whatever the case is, you're still going to get all 535 of those agency clicks that the manual agency got, right? You're going to get all of those. Plus, you're going to get 3,311 more. Not only that, but think about how many more impressions, because Google Ads works on a daily budget. You're going to get 5,000 more impressions on average per day to capture even more potential quality clicks. So here's a cool quote from a book called Join or Die, Digital Advertising in the Age of Automation. And if you visit our Traffic LinkedIn channel, Pierre-Luc Caron and I, Pierre-Luc Caron is a strategist. We have a great conversation on this book, but you have to look at it as the machine is not your enemy, but a friend in need of guidance. And so here's where I'm going to get into some of the aspects that you can do at your dealership to stir the AI, make sure it's reaching your objectives. And we'll go next slide. Oh. So one of the items that you definitely have to do to make your automation work for your dealership is to use engagement rules to set your overall strategy. AI will create ads for everything you have in stock, right? Okay. So, but you want to eliminate ads for certain sort of vehicles. So, like, let's say non-merchandise units, vehicles with less than 5 photos. Those provide a bad user experience. You don't want to give that data back to Google, because people are they're going to bounce out, and Google's going to say, well, you know what, this landing page isn't that great. And then that's going to affect the rest of your AI. So don't even show them, hey, the vehicle just came in, merchandise it, get in front, clear the snow out, get it into your studio, take a few photos, and then get it out there advertised, to the public and on Google, et cetera. Low inventory level model. So again, when you don't have too many of them, you want to, sort of pause those campaigns and make so that way the money goes to the more strategic units, ones that you have more in stock. Cars in less than 15 days in stock. This ensures merchandise and learned vehicles get more exposure. And then junkers, right? You wouldn't even advertise those anyway. Sometimes those DMSs put them on there. And I know from my experience, my DP was like, oh my God, I can't believe that vehicle's on there. But anyways, you want to pause those. You don't want to pay for those. Maybe they'll show up on your site. You don't want to be putting money behind them. So vehicles under $5,000, wholesale them, send them to auction. I don't even think the auctions would take that kind of vehicle, but anyways, just don't advertise them. And then using bid adjustments to focus the AI on high converting demographic data. So bid adjustments allow you to show your ads more or less frequently based on where, when, and how people search. And you can see here in this example, mobile, let's do a 25% bid adjustment up, or rural, you want to, maybe reduce it if you're in the city, or 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., you want to reduce 60% bid adjustment because, hey, you don't want to show your Dodge Challengers and Corvettes to drunk guys that just came home from the bar, right? You know what I mean? So, but, take this one with a grain of salt. because AI will eventually figure most of these adjustments out. They have tools like smart bidding, so they'll figure out that a click at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night isn't probably the best click, and they'll adjust. But where this stuff is very important is on the next slide when we talk about vehicle bid adjustments. That's where it's really important, right? Depending on your inventory position, these strategies for bid adjusting on individual vehicle lines is very important, right? You want to bid up on vehicles you have plenty in stock, right? You want to bid down on high search dreamer vehicles. And then you want to bid adjust seasonally based on model. And then when I say bid down on high search dreamer vehicles, when you have one or two, Mustangs in stock or 370Zs, they actually get a lot of clicks. They actually get a lot of impressions. There's a lot of dreamers out there, and they click on your ads quite a bit, but they're not necessarily going to buy them. So you don't really want to have too much exposure on those because they're just really wasting your clicks. I'm sure they'll sell themselves. And of course, bid adjust is seasonally based on model. Hey, do you want to be advertising your Mustang convertibles during winter? It's probably a better click, more exposure you're going to get, and better AI in the spring. And then what you want to do is develop custom audience segments using your first party database for more efficient campaigns. This is something I highly suggest you do yourself or with your agency. Take a list of 500 of your contacts, sold customers, okay? Upload them to native platforms like Google. Usually about half of them are going to be matched. And so now you have an audience set of 250 who already bought from you. But the cool thing is the AI algorithm will then create lookalike audiences, which are high converting. They're going to be similar to the people you've already sold. They have similar traits and similar buying patterns. But now you have strangers who look just like those people. Suddenly you have a highly targeted segment that you can use to convert on your campaigns. And here's a custom audience case study that I did with a Hyundai dealership in December 2021. What we did there was we uploaded their audience list of customers who had vehicles over 4 years, plus lease renewals up to a year. I personally like to change my cars every 3 years, but we went with 4 years anyways. And here's what we saw. And remember, like, this is a screenshot from our performance reviews. You got to remember, like, this is December, where I'm sure most of your KPIs went down. In this case, we had a 59% increase in clicks. We had 37% increase in VDP views, and we had a 36% increase in conversions. So that is pretty good for a December campaign. And it's because it was targeted. And then finally, you want to make automation work. The way to make automation work the best for your dealership is to give it time. Okay. AI and automation need time to optimize. So you want to give your campaigns at least 60 days to see best results. AI itself needs at least 14 days just to learn. And of course, 45 more days to run it. Of course, you got to think, when the 20th comes, you get desperate, you change course or something like that. You aren't hitting your numbers. Don't do that. Wait a little bit for these campaigns. Give them some time. And I know there's some OEMs on the calls, and I know that's not going to happen, but I'm going to bring it up anyways. 60 days minimum. Like if they could do their offers over 60 days rather than 30 days, first, it would be a lot less work. And second, it would definitely be a lot more optimal for them, especially in the last 30 days. Those campaigns are going to start to really do the best work for them. So time is of the essence for automation. I can't stress that enough.
Ivan, thank you so much. Always enjoy your insights. Lots of great information and best practices for our listeners to take away. I've asked you, pull out 3 things, if anything, what would be the main 3 takeaways that you would recommend our listeners actually implement after your session?
Yeah, so I wanted to jot these down, and I know there's questions coming in, guys, and we're absolutely going to get to them. There will be a Q&A afterwards. Love answering those. So the key takeaways: see if your ads and landing pages match the intent of your search. Go into your browser, open up a private window, and search for variations of your year, make, model. Do it just like I did, like Nissan Rogue 2022, and make sure that the ad matches up to what you're putting in, that it includes all those dynamic capabilities of inventory count and price. And then when you click on it, that it lands on the right page. Second, find out your average cost per click. Very important. Ask your agency to provide this. And remember to include model searches, because with your brand name, anybody and everybody can get a 25% CPC. If you're under $2, you're with a high performing vendor. If not, you're definitely wasting ad spend. I just literally had a conversation on Monday with a dealer, and they're with a competitor. I won't name the competitor, but it's a definitely high ranking automotive digital marketing agency. And I asked them, hey, listen, for our dealership, Stellantis dealership, we had $1.48 cost per click. I said, well, what's your cost per click with that provider? And he said, oh, $4.68, which is craziness. That is 3 times the amount he's paying for the same click. Okay. So you can imagine, like, if you go to the auction and somebody offers you a $45,000 car for $15,000, are you going to take the $45,000 because the auction guy's a good guy, a good friend of yours? I don't think so. And you got to think too, like, for $1, okay, it seems like it's only $3. It's only $3 difference. Over 1,000 clicks every month, that's $3,000 difference. Okay, makes a big difference.
Big money, yeah, for
big.
Sure.
And then finally, and this is a major one, takeaway, please, everybody, this is really important, because third-party data is going away. So for first-party data is very important. Upload custom audience segments to Google, YouTube. Okay, use a 500-person minimum list. That'll create lookalikes. It'll better allow you to hyper-target your own database, right? You want to, especially with inventory shortages, you want to advertise to them too, right? You want to say, hey, listen, it might take a couple months for this car to come in. Whatever it is, you're already giving them the messaging, but also you're going to get these similar lookalike audiences to give you more new potential buyers that have these similar traits to customers.